Okay, so what if I told you that your own muscles are basically one of the most sophisticated pharmacies in the entire world? It sounds crazy, right? But every single time you exercise, they release these powerful little molecules that literally talk to your brain, your heart, your whole system. We've all been told to exercise, but why? Why does it have this incredibly profound biological effect on everything from our stress levels to our brain health? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Welcome to Jasim Graphs. I'm your guide to understanding the real science behind exercise. In this explainer, we're going to break it down into three simple parts. First, we'll look at the modern dilemma, all that stress and sitting. Then we'll get into the biological reset, how exercise actually works its magic. And finally, the 150-minute solution, your practical, no-nonsense action plan. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the modern dilemma. This is all about why our bodies are really struggling with two huge challenges of modern life: chronic stress and just sitting all the time. First up, cortisol. Think of it as your body's built-in alarm system. And, for short-term fight-or-flight situations, it's fantastic. But here's the problem. Modern life, with its endless work deadlines and the constant notifications on our phones, it just keeps that alarm blaring all day long. And this constant high level of cortisol, it isn't just a feeling of being stressed. It's biologically damaging. We're talking real links to heart disease, disrupted sleep, and it can even shrink parts of your brain over time. And the second challenge is something called sedentarism. Now, it's really important to get this. This is not the same as just not exercising enough. Sedentarism is specifically about any time you're awake but using very little energy, like sitting or reclining. So you could hit the gym for an hour every morning, but if you then spend the next 10 hours in a chair, you're still facing the very real health risks of a sedentary lifestyle. So you can see we're kind of fighting a two-front battle here. On one side, you have chronic stress, keeping our cortisol dangerously high, which harms our heart and brain. And on the other side, you've got sedentarism, which some people are even calling the new smoking. And the research on this is really, really clear. Sitting for more than 7 hours a day increases your risk of death from all causes. And that risk just keeps climbing for every extra hour you spend in a chair. Let's make this a little more real. Let's meet Alex. Alex has a pretty typical desk job, lots of pressure, lots of deadlines. That stress keeps Alex's cortisol levels way up all the time. And while all that's happening, Alex is sitting for 8, maybe 9 hours a day. This combination creates what's really a perfect storm inside the body, silently ramping up the risk for burnout and a whole bunch of chronic diseases down the line. Okay, so now that we get the problem, let's move on to the solution in Section 2, the biological reset. This is where we get into the incredible science of how physical activity is basically the most effective medicine we have for this modern mess. And here it is. This is the hard evidence from a huge 1-year clinical trial. This study was a game changer because it proved for the first time a direct cause and effect link between exercise and lower cortisol. Just look at the graph. The group that exercised regularly had way lower baseline cortisol levels than the control group. So exercise acts like a kill switch or maybe a biological drain for all that chronic stress building up in our system. So how does exercise actually do this? Well, this brings us to one of the most exciting discoveries in all of physiology: myokines. This is the pharmacy I was talking about at the beginning. It turns out your muscles are actually an endocrine organ. I mean, just think about that for a second. When you contract your muscles, they aren't just moving your body. They're producing and releasing hundreds of these powerful proteins called myokines, and they travel through your blood like little messengers to all your other organs. It's totally revolutionary. Now, one of the absolute superstars of the myokine world is something called BDNF, or Brain-Derived Neurotrophic Factor. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like fertilizer for your brain. It's incredible. It not only protects your existing brain cells from the damage of stress, but it actually stimulates the growth of brand new neurons. And that is absolutely essential for learning, for memory, and for regulating your mood. So let's just trace this beautiful communication system from start to finish. First, you exercise, which directly lowers your long-term cortisol. How? By turning your muscles into a protein factory, an endocrine organ that pumps out helpful myokines. Then those myokines, like our friend BDNF, travel up to your brain to protect and repair it. This is the science that explains the powerful whole-body benefits we get from being active. So what does all this mean for Alex? Well, after learning this, Alex starts a really simple exercise routine. And inside their body, a massive shift starts to happen. Their baseline cortisol levels begin to drop, finally quieting that constant biological alarm. Their muscles start pumping out myokines, and BDNF makes its way to their brain, which helps improve focus at work and just generally lifts their mood. Alex doesn't just feel better. Their body is literally biologically rewiring and protecting itself. Look, this science is absolutely incredible, but it doesn't mean much if we can't apply it, right? So that brings us to our final section, the 150-minute solution. This is a practical, totally non-intimidating plan to actually get these benefits. So what's the magic number? Well, it's been confirmed by so many large-scale studies, including that year-long cortisol trial. The number is 150. That's it. 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity per week. And this isn't just some random number pulled from thin air. It is the scientifically backed sweet spot to get these major biological changes. And you know what? That breaks down to just 30 minutes, 5 days a week. But what does moderate intensity even mean? It's way simpler than you might think. The easiest way to know is to use the talk test. If you're breathing hard, but you can still hold a conversation pretty easily, you're in the right zone. We're talking about things like a brisk walk, cycling on a flat road, dancing, even some heavy yard work counts. You don't have to be sprinting your heart out. And you know what's great is that you have options. If you hate running or just find cardio really boring, you are not stuck. As researcher Dr. Lee says here, studies show you can swap about half of your aerobic time for strength training and get the exact same benefits for your heart. This gives you way more variety, and of course, it helps you build that all-important muscle, the very organ that's making those myokines for you. Okay, so here it is, your 4-part action plan. First, the goal, 150 minutes a week. Second, the mix. A combination of cardio and strength works great. Third, and this is so important, the mindset. Please avoid that all-or-nothing trap. Every little bit of movement counts. And fourth, the method. Start integrating small movement snacks into your day. These are just 1 to 5 minute bursts of activity. Take the stairs. Do a few push-ups against your desk between meetings. Walk around the block on a phone call. It all adds up. So let's see what a 150-minute week could look like for Alex. And you'll see this is completely manageable. A 30-minute brisk walk at lunchtime on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then a 30-minute strength routine at home on Tuesday and Thursday. Plus, those daily movement snacks, like just always taking the stairs. That's it. That is the 150-minute solution in action. It's totally achievable. So if you take just one single thing away from this explainer today, let it be this. Exercise is not a punishment for what you ate. It's a form of communication. It's you actively telling your body to lower stress, to repair your brain, and to keep your entire system healthy and strong. Let's recap the big 3 keywords from today. The goal here is evidence-based cortisol reduction. The mechanism for how this happens is the release of powerful myokines from your muscles. And the dose you need to achieve this is just 150 minutes per week. If this made sense to you, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to Jasim Graphs. Just so you know, this video was made with AI assistance. And remember, AI can make mistakes, so it's always a good idea to double-check important facts.
Thanks so much for watching.